Again, there were riots. Similar situation you find elsewhere, that there is basically something wrong. Today we are governed by constitution. Every member of the political party, every member of parliament, every member of the legislative assembly, or every other person who is holding a constitutional post, when they enter into the office, there is a oath which they will have to take under the Schedule 3 of the Constitution. The oath broadly for all posts, including for judges, it says that I shall uphold the Constitution without fear or favor, without ill will. Now, if you want to uphold the Constitution, if you want to uphold the Constitution without fear or favor, or without ill will, now having entered the office in the name of the Constitution, how is that everybody now starts saying there is no place for Ambedkar? This is most important because the fundamental question today about social discrimination can be seen from one small incident like this. If you go to Jaipur, there is a bench of the Rajasthan High Court. The headquarters is in Jodhpur. The bench was started later in Jaipur after it became capital. Prominently, there is a statue of Manu. Nobody knows who is Manu. Nobody has seen Manu. There is no picture of Manu. And it says that there are several Manus, not one Manu. But there is a Manu Dharma. There is a Manu Smriti. Now, there is a Manu Smriti. Why is that when we get independence and write a constitution, and in that there is a republican constitution which says it will be a sovereign, democratic, socialist, secular republic. Having said all this, how is that the High Court of Judicature, which is created under this constitution, how is that they are having Manu? What is the role that it should have? What is the example that it will give for the future? Do you think that we are governed by Manusmriti or governed by Constitution of India? If you enter office that they will uphold the Constitution, there is no other space for other issues. Now this is most important. Now this statue, few years back, two women from scheduled caste went to put a black paint. They felt it's an insult to have Manu, who swore by Varnashrama, who also despised the Avarnas. They are only meant for 4 Varnas. The Avarnas are the scheduled caste. They are not even part of the caste system. Now if he says that, then he put it in the Framba, not any other place, but in the court itself. There are some lawyers who passed a resolution that this should be removed. And then the High Court also said that we will try to remove this. Then an injunction suit was filed in the Jaipur City Court that it shall not be removed. Now the injunction continues, the statue continues. The 2 women went to paint black the face of Manu. They were arrested and put in jail. But today, the statue is not having any protection. The statue does not have any wall. Statue does not have a fence. Anybody can go see. If you come to Madras High Court, the only High Court in India where there is a statue for Ambedkar inside the court. We are very happy. But the point is that Ambedkar statue is now covered by fiberglass wall. There is a fence around it. If you want to put a garland, you must get permission from the Registrar General, who will come and open, put a garland, they will close the door and go. Why is that we are given life sentence to Ambedkar? We are happy that we have an Ambedkar statue, but every place in Tamil Nadu, Ambedkar statue is put in a wire mesh. He has been given a life sentence. Is it because he drafted the constitution? Is it because we are proud of him? Now the question is very simple. That if you want to have Ambedkar statue, you must have police protection, you must have wall, you must have wire fence. If you want to have a Manu, nothing is required. Anybody can go see what. There is no disturbance at all. Now this is the essence of social discrimination. This is where we start. I want to start deliberately with that. And later I'll find, whenever you name after somebody, nobody is protesting. You have so many leaders' names are there. But when it comes to Ambedkar, why there is protest? In Tamil Nadu, we have Ambedkar Law University now presently. But previously, one district was named after Ambedkar in southern part of Tamil Nadu. Several other districts were named after kings of Tamil Nadu, some other political leaders. Some group only targeted this particular transport corporation. Every day glass was broken. then government, what they should do, they should increase the vigil. On the other hand, they removed the names of all the leaders. The government order said all the leaders who are representing communities, their statues will be removed, their names will be removed from the district. I wrote a judgment that does Ambedkar represent any caste? Is it not fighting for the emancipation of the 1/5 of the population? How is that you are removing? You should name the name back. But they have not done it because it is a political expediency. Why would in Andhra Pradesh, for all so many districts, in one district name is given? This is a right. Therefore, there is a continued schism, there is a continued hostility, there is a continued opposition to such measures are there. It only shows that we are yet to see the fruits of our Indian become a republic. That's the most important. When you are talking about constitution and social justice and caste discrimination. Now these issues, before we deal with the caste issue, before we deal with the issue of social discrimination, you must go backwards. When you go backwards, you only see the past. But then today there are many people who try to reinforce the past values and the goodness of the past values and then start speaking high of the past values. What are the past values? Manusmriti is not after all bad. Sanadana is not any religious doctrine. It's a way of life. For many people, they very easily they say that. We have a governor who has come from Patna. He belonged to Indian Police Service. So beyond wearing a uniform, his understanding of social life is very different. He goes to every meeting. Normally governors are confined to Rajnivas or Raj Bhavan. They don't speak outside. But then this man speaks a point to go and speak everywhere. And then what he speaks is most important. He chooses a forum and then gives some ideas, thinking that nobody will contradict him. He is a governor of Tamil Nadu. Therefore, he first goes to a meeting and then say, this is what he says. I will only show what he said. First thing he says, I have read the constitution. Whether he read or not, we do not know. There is a preamble. The preamble has got a word, secularism. According to him, the secularism is not defined in the constitution, number one. Second, he says, I have gone through the full text of the constitution. There is no place for dharma in the constitution. Constitution is a sheer political document. It's a document where you try to write the rules book and then start saying each one will govern within the sphere. You should not cross your borders. Organs of state, legislature, government and judiciary, all that is a political science lesson you may have. But everybody knew that. But it is a lie to say that the constitution lacks dharma. I want to say this is a lie, though is the statement come from a governor who is the head of the state, taking all responsibility. I want to tell this audience that since that question has been raised in a public forum, thus our constitution lacks dharma. Or is something called dharma outside the constitution? Further, the answer is from Dr. Ambedkar himself. Ambedkar, you know, after drafting of the constitution, he became minister in the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru cabinet, and then he was also a labour minister. He was also minister of several other portfolios. He was responsible for bringing the Hindu Code Bill, and we can go on at that, several labour legislation. All that is not necessary. What is important was, while he was holding the post of the cabinet minister under Nehru, he gave a speech in the All India Radio. That speech in 1954 is a very important speech because he explains the philosophy behind the constitution. I was a law student some 50 years ago. In my second year, they were teaching constitution. And the first chapter will be the preamble and the fundamental right. In the preamble, the teacher will come and say, fraternity, equality, liberty. Or put the other way around, liberty, equality, fraternity. Now these three words, which is found in the preamble, most significant word, our teachers were telling us, this is inspired by French Revolution. It was the French Revolution where these concepts were put in public as against the monarchical rule. liberty, fraternity, equality. They were sounding from French Revolution, which is the 18th century. I was also believing that if any question asked, I will also seriously write his influence. Until I heard the speech of Dr. Ambedkar. Anybody can speak. All of you are having mobile phone. You have access to Google. If you just see Ambedkar's speech in 1954, you will get the speech. In one or two apps, his own voice is also there. You can hear. Most brilliant speech where he enunciated what is the dharma behind in the Indian Constitution. Let me see in his own word. This is what Ambedkar said on 10/1/1954. He starts by saying, every man should have a philosophy of life. For everyone must have a standard by which no measure is conduct. That you should have a philosophy. And that should be the standard to measure you. And what should be the philosophy? Positively, my social philosophy, that is Ambedkar's social philosophy, may be said to be enshrined in 3 words. His social philosophy, 3 words: liberty, equality, fraternity. Then he says, everybody like my law student, this we believe, he answers this question. Let no one, however, say that I borrowed my philosophy from French Revolution. He is directly coming to the point. I have not borrowed from French Revolution. Where did I get this idea to incorporate in the Constitution? He says, I have not borrowed from French Revolution. My philosophy has roots in religion and not in political science. Then I have derived them from teaching my master, the Buddha. In his philosophy, liberty and equality had a place only as a safeguard against breaches of liberty and equality. But he did not believe that law can be a guarantee for breach of liberty or equality. He gave the highest place to fraternity as the only real safeguard against the denial of liberty or equality or fraternity, which was another name for brotherhood or humanity, which was again another name for religion. This is what he says. That I borrowed from Dhamma, the Buddha, the Sangha, and not from French Revolution. There are many people today say we must go back to our culture, we must go back to our roots. In fact, we have a judge in Madras High Court who is a present judge. In his school days, he was belonged to RSS. Maybe he continues his RSS philosophy even now. And then, not only in his judgment, he writes all these ideas. He also goes and gives lecture while he is a judge. Recently, he went to Haryana to speak in Kurukshetra University. He was addressing the lawyers, Adivarta Parishad. You know what is Adivarta Parishad? It's the RSS lawyers wing. Adivarta means advocate, Parishad is their group. He addresses them. He says, our constitution is not something new. Today there is a presidential pardon power under Article 72. President can give pardon to any accused who has gone sentenced. He can give reprieve. And under 438 CRPC, the government can give a mercy and let out people who are going through sentence. Now, he says this Article 72 and Article 438 is not something new. It is there in Ramayana itself. Sita tells Hanuman that people have suffered enough, you let them off. Therefore, we must trace our jurisprudence to Ramayana, not to the constitution or anything like that. Our ideas come from our culture. I asked him one question. I wrote, one thing you must know, today a time has come, we can't hide things, we'll have to tell openly. You are wrong, you should say wrong. I told the judge, all right, Ramayana has got good precedent, the two legal. In fact, the judge goes on by saying, I don't read Solomon jurisprudence. I don't write due on interpretation of statutes. We must have a Indianized jurisprudence. That is what he talks about. Bharatiya jurisprudence. I don't know where we get tomorrow we may even start a class on Bharatiya jurisprudence and give LLB degree also. It's possible. But what is important today is the two things that he has forgotten. One is he has taken the oath of constitution under the constitution. Uphold the constitution. You can't denigrate. Yesterday also somebody is appointed to Madras High Court who goes on saying that the Christians have no place in this country, Muslims have no place in the country. One judge has gone on record. Then they appeal to the Supreme Court, saying that how can you have somebody who does not have a constitutional value? It's not a question of not having politics. Everybody has a politics. Justice Rajinder Sachar says that from student days, so many baggages we carry. On the day when you assume office, we don't forget all those. It is there in our system. But the point is, beyond that system, we have a oath of office that I will uphold the Constitution. So you must have a constitutional morality and a constitutional value. Now, people complain how this lady can dispense justice when she speaks venom against the minorities. You must be reading in the papers. Don't think judiciary is nothing to do with you. Every day you open the paper, there is news on judiciary. And people look towards the judiciary because that's the only organ which can enforce this constitution. Under the constitution, they are the referees, they are the umpires. Now the umpire says, what is wrong in politics? I was in politics, she was in politics, therefore we can all be in politics. It is not the question of not having politics. Man is a political animal. He is not apolitical. If you eat rice, if you eat wheat, there is a politics behind it. We saw the farmers' agitation. It's for a politics. And Constitution is a political document. Constitution is not the law. It's a mother of all laws. Justice Krishna calls it as a pachydermic parchment. Parchment means paper in Latin. Pachydermic means elephant. It's an elephant paper, mother of all laws. It controls all the laws. Whatever law you make, it is subject to the Constitution. And therefore, when you write a political assembly, gives a document, this is the country we are going to be governed. That's like a rule book. Now, how do you say, when I interpret the Constitution, there is a reservation in Uttar Pradesh for OBCs in local bodies. Constitution provides for scheduled castes and women. Now, Uttar Pradesh government is facing next election, therefore they say OBC also. Right or wrong, that is different. But the point is, now is it not politics that I am making some provision in the Constitution? Therefore, when you talk about a political document, you also take a political decision. Every decision is not a legal decision. It also has a political bearing. Now, when you say that I must have a political thing, you also say, I also politics, he has got a politics, all right. Whether you have a constitutional value, do you believe in this Constitution? In fact, when we say it's a sovereign, democratic, socialist, secular republic, and Supreme Court says by 13 judges in Kesavananda Bharati's case, it's a basic structure of the Constitution. Nobody can say anything against it. If you see the Bangladesh Constitution, Article 7, anybody who denigrates, anybody who disrespects, anybody who disobeys, they can be given a maximum sentence under the Criminal Procedure Code. What is the maximum sentence? Death sentence. We have no such provisions. We are not saying it's a holy book. We are not saying it's a scripture or a Granth Sahib. It has been amended 105 times. At the same time, Constitution has a value. A secularism, no compromise. But you say now, minorities have no place. It is not she says. She's a judge from yesterday onwards. It's not she says. 2 months back in Varanasi, some Hindu sannyasis had a conference. Conference is not to discuss religion and theosophy. Now most of the sannyasis discussing politics only. Theosophy is only a business. Politics is their bread. And therefore what they discuss, we must have a Hindu constitution. Why? We are already having a constitution given by Dr. Ambedkar. In fact, Ambedkar once said that they didn't have anybody to write Ramayana. They brought Valmiki, who was a backward class. They didn't have anybody to write Mahabharata. They brought one Dalit to write Mahabharata. They didn't have anybody to write Constitution. They brought a Mahar like me to write the Constitution. But you want scholarship. But now why another Constitution? This is most dangerous thing when we are talking about social discrimination. There is also inherent danger that what has been guaranteed, what has been practiced the last 72 years is now sought to be taken away by a subterfuge. First it will start with them, and then the Bharatiya jurisprudence will come, and then another women judge will say, no place for minorities. Before she said minorities, no place, this sannyasi conference passed a resolution that this country belongs to the Hindus, number one. This constitution belongs to them. What about the minorities? What about the Christian? What about the Muslim? They can stay here. They can just stay anywhere if they want. What will they do? They can do their business, but they cannot vote in this country. So defranchise make them second-class citizen, and then say we will have a Hindu Raj. This is a resolution passed by them, and they also said we will take this to a wider audience. Before they take to the wider audience, a prospective judge says Hindus and Muslims have no place in this country. Therefore, their tentacles can grow faster. So the first thing I want to emphasize, before we even discuss what is social discrimination or a caste discrimination, one thing is very important, that this constitution should survive, without which we can't be sitting here at all. That's the most important, to defend this constitution, to defend whatever shortfall it can be cured. We are not against amendments. Good amendments are welcome, bad amendments will be opposed. But at the same time, the constitution cannot give up. When you are establishing this country as a democratic, socialist, secular republic, the word secularism and socialism are two important eyes of the constitution. Now somebody says that we want to remove this. This is the most dangerous propaganda which has now started, and then you will have to watch for that. Now, Dr. Ambedkar not only stopped with this, he left the cabinet. The very same party which elected him did not give him a seat the next election. So he stopped being in the government. But he did not stop speaking. Nobody can put a lock to anybody who has a views, who has a vision. And Dr. Ambedkar in 1956 said, in fact, this is not something new, nor we have imported from outside. Buddhism is the religion of this country. It is more than 2000 years old. I feel sorry for the fact that it did not embrace this religion earlier. This made at the time when you became a Buddhist. But he said, I feel sorry. The teachings of Buddha are eternal, but even so, Buddha did not proclaim them infallible. The religion of Buddha has the capacity to change according to time, a quality no religion can claim to have. Now when I say this quotation, most of you may think that I am also part of Buddhist propaganda. I am not on that ground. I am on the ground, larger ground, that today you talk about a religion and say it has got 2000 years old, older than your majority religion. Now you say that this place is only meant for one group. Are you not only destroying history, but also a constitutional guarantee? This is something, a basic question that we'll have to ask ourselves. Now when I talk about Ambedkar quotation, is it not valid all time to come? It may be valid, depending on people who seriously take Ambedkar. Ambedkar himself said, don't personify me, don't make me into a worshipping personality, don't make me a demigod. Read my teaching, if it is rational, accept it. He never believed in personality cult, and therefore is important. When he showed the book, I have written some judgments on caste and religion. I was wondering what title I should give. I gave the topic, My Judgments in the Light of Ambedkar. There was a TV debate in a Tamil TV. That man who was interviewing was a rightist. He asked me, Judge, I was asking a question. You say your judgments are in the light of Ambedkar. Somebody may say tomorrow, my judgments are in the light of Golwarkar, Savarkar. What do you say? I said, I don't care. Today it's a fact. If you want to decide matters on religion and caste, you got to read Ambedkar. There are selected works from Ambedkar. When I take up a particular issue, it is not the bare law. It's not the section, comma, full stop. Beyond that, we interpret a provision. Interpreting the provision, we will have to read. There are no such guidelines in the Constitution. And Ambedkar has written vast writing on both religion and caste, which has helped me. If it had helped me, I will also quote my author. I said, this is the topic. I don't care what others are saying. Now, therefore, it is important to read Ambedkar, not just have a picture and say, I am Ambedkar. Because today the fight is between Manuvadi and Ambedkar. That is the most on the question of religion. If you want to have a perspective, how to have the perspective. Now the debate today that goes on is the first fight. You must have seen in the papers. I started by saying Sanadana. Our governor said, there is nothing wrong in Sanadana. That's the greatest living concept. So you should become a Sanadani. Now he says like that. And last week, Mohan Bhagwat, RSS leader, the boss, he speaks in Marathi. And then what he says is very important. I was very shocked when I read. 2 times I was putting my specs and reading that. And what he said was, some pundits have given some wrong interpretation which gave rise to caste and all that. We have no place for caste. We should evolve a system where caste has no place. This is coming from the headquarters, which is nearby Nagpur. Nagpur is headquarters for several reasons. It's also headquarters for Ambedkar philosophy also. It's also headquarters for Marxist understanding, because the first trade union came from Nagpur, Empress Mill. And therefore it is all the ideas started from Nagpur, though it's a center spread over. Now, when he says that, when our governor says Sanatani is a worthful concept, what did Ambedkar say? Ambedkar said that Sanatana has no place in Hinduism. It's an invention by the Brahminical order to superimpose their ideas of Saturvarna, Varnashrama. And therefore he has said, he is not speaking for religion, he is only analyzing. And one of the person who has analyzed very thoroughly the religion of Hinduism is Ambedkar. And then he says, Sanatana has no place, invented later, so that their order will not be disturbed at all. Now you have two views. What is the role of Sanatana in the Hindu side? Does it play a positive role? Now RSS leader says, no, it has no place. We must evolve a new concept. It is not, he said firstly, even Adi Shankara said the same thing, that the Hinduism has got different interpretation. Though they call it one religion, it has got different interpretation. And that's why somebody says you read Ramayana, it has got great jurisprudence. All right. I asked the judge one question. Same Ramayana you take. Rama comes back from Sri Lanka, along with his wife, and then takes over the reins of the kingdom. Then one day he tells his wife, please jump into the fire. She says, why? Now when I was going in the city, in the night rounds, I heard somebody talking ill of you. I don't want that stigma to continue. So you prove yourself by entering into Agni. This is what happens when you take a philosophy, you will go for a rational idea of the philosophy. When you take a Ilias, there are good things, there are bad things. Will you ask your wife to jump into fire? She will say, you first to jump into to prove yourself as a worthy husband. Will you not say? Therefore, it is very dangerous. But still, such ideas are being reinforced for some other collateral purpose. That's most important. Nobody denigrates. But at the same time, you build an idea, you build a superstructure to reinforce this idea of Sanatana and then try to say this order should continue. There is nothing wrong with it. Just do some tinkering work. Don't change the car. Have the same car, run in the same car. Just do some tinkering work. Don't go for a new bike car. This is something which we'll have to watch. And the same governor, again we'll come to that, because we are now reading the constitution. He says, I read the word secularism. Secularism doesn't mean anything. They don't give any definition. In fact, in the constitution, there is one provision where some words are defined. It is not a dictionary. When you look at the constitution, 397 articles are there, so many subclasses are there. But it goes to the court. Every time the court gives an interpretation. In fact, there is an Englishman who said, it is not what is written in the constitution, it is what the judges say. Now, the difficulty in our country is all the judges doesn't speak in single voice. And once Justice Krishna had said, there is one building in Supreme Court, within that there are 34 Supreme Court. I am not saying something new. See, SC/ST Amendment Act came. It also said no anticipatory bail for accused, because they had just escaped and then threatened the witnesses. Therefore, they said these people should be put inside till the case is over. This was challenged, that was rejected in 2009. Again, challenge comes. Then the Supreme Court says, no, the SC/ST Act is misused. This provision is wrong. We should have bail. This one judge says, Justice Hemant Gupta. He speaks his voice. Later it goes to another bench. There is a review. The review bench says, the argument that is misused is a specious argument. Time and again it has been proved that the Dalits are put to greater peril in this country, and there have been so many atrocities. That is why we are having a special law. When you have a special law, you must have a special provision. There is nothing wrong in denying perpetrator of social offence the bail condition. This another bench says too. Now there are two views. You see the Karnataka school case. Somebody says that girls should wear only this uniform. Now the government, Karnataka has become a laboratory now. Several experiments are done. One experiment was start uniform. What is this uniform, first of all? I don't understand it at all. How does uniform has got connection with the discipline? Now Karnataka government says no, we'll have a uniform for all school girls. Now the school girls come with the uniform, but they wear a kerchief on the top, called hijab. Discipline is not affected. They are coming in the same uniform. Now you don't allow them in the school. Now what happens? School girls come to the school, the gate they are stopped. 20,000 girls have not written their 10th standard examination in Karnataka. Who's responsible? You call it discipline? Now what about Article 21A? Says all children in this country from the age of 4 to 14 shall have universal, compulsory, free education. Parents will be punished under the new law if you don't send the children. And then you stop them at the gate. You promise education, but you will not allow them inside. This is a paradox. Now that case goes to a full bench. Full bench says no, discipline means everything. I am asking a simple question. I was a school boy from a village. In my class, many boys won't wear shirts. They are only trousers. And trousers will have a lot of holes. No teachers throw them out. They are indisciplined. They can't afford. Children will never come to school. Every summer vacation, teachers will go house to house and canvass, please send the children. They must learn. They will beg the parents. And then therefore any dress is allowed. Nobody stopped them. It was an inclusive society. Today we are aiming, after giving fundamental right of education, you stop people. Now 3-judge bench says, no, discipline is me. It is not a religious right. Nobody asks religious right. We are saying if it is a fundamental right to educate, the question of cloth is immaterial. It's something called sartorial despotism. A dress dictatorship. You decide what they should wear. And then now it goes to Supreme Court. 2 judges take diametrically opposite views. One says discipline, one says education. Now it has to go to 3-judge bench. When it will come, we do not know. But 20,000 children future are in streets now. It's not the question of dress alone. In Karnataka, several other experiments. Azan, they call for people for prayer. They say, no, it's very making noise. We are not able to sleep. You've been sleeping for hundreds of years. Now who stops you? And then every house is air conditioned also. I have one more facility. If I remove my hearing aid, I won't hear any sound. I can sleep even in the road also. That's a good thing. You can always plug your ears. There is something called tolerance. Something called a plural society. You accept every culture. That is what our constitution means. Now you say, stop this. In Uttar Pradesh, they removed all the loudspeakers. Somebody asked the chief minister, what happened to the loudspeaker? We have given it to school general assemblies. You rob Peter and pay Paul. You take it from the mosque and give it to some government schools. What does it mean? Why they can't have a prayer call? And somebody say you should eat meat only in this way, not in any other way. No, halal. Now, why such measures are being now slowly brought in only to make the society split into several segments? What is contemplated in the constitution is something different. This constitution guaranteed a right of religion, right to freedom of conscience, right to profess faith. Anything you can profess you want. That's the freedom of expression. If that is a constitutional guarantee, now some laws are now made saying that you must go to a collector or district magistrate and say, sir, I want to go from A to B. What is it he can ask you? He will ask you why. What is the answer you will give? I believe in this. How do you believe in this? Do you want to prove all this to a district magistrate who is not having any special knowledge whether he is going X or Y? In fact, the same debate came when Ambedkar met Gandhiji. He asked Gandhiji, why you are asking the religious conversion wrong? Gandhiji said some people are giving incentive. Therefore I am against. It's not free will. Ambedkar asked only one question. You do not accept us in your religion. We are avarnas. We don't even have a caste among the 4 castes. We are the 5th group. We have no space in your life. If I go elsewhere, what is your problem? Babuji asked. And Babuji did not give any reply to that. Because that's a very fundamental question. If you do not accept me as part of your life, whether I go elsewhere or die, what is your problem? Why is that you are showing so much concern? This is a question which we are keep on arguing. But this is not a question which stopped in 1930s. The question, recently we had a case in Madurai. One Christian priest among his audience, not in a public meeting, he said, my grandfather was a Hindu, but he decided that we should not be in this religion. So he made my father as a Christian, and I am continuing to be a Christian. I am proud. This is what he said. Nothing wrong. He may say, every fanatic can say whatever he wants. Nobody is bothered. A criminal case is filed that he is trying to discard among the mob. 153A, 295A, IPC. I won't go into the provision. He came to the High Court. I did not say anything wrong. I gave a factual statement of what my grandfather said and what we are all to. This is what Dr. Ambedkar also said. Ambedkar said, I was born as a Hindu, I will not die as a Hindu. He said that. So he quoted annihilation of caste. He quoted the judgment. The judge is saying, Ambedkar can say all this, but you can't say all this. You can read the judgment. George Panaya versus Sub-Inspector of Police Koduthurai. You can read the judgment. I am not saying something new. I am saying how our judiciary is going to some jaundice side. If Ambedkar can say, as a follower of Ambedkar, I can't show this, all these people. He said that's all past. Now we are different. This is what the other lady judge, who's now been elevated, says. They have no place to live here. Therefore, we are now on a very crooked position on our constitution. Therefore, it's a time we read the constitution again. We read it again and read it again and again to see what is the value of the constitution, how much it is important. It is important to the extent, in the last 72 years, if you see our neighbors, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, all their constitutions are all wrecked. But we are still having the same constitution. That is the wisdom of Dr. Ambedkar. That this constitution has provided a space for everybody. That space is giving a polyface to the constitution. It's a place where every religion is important. So when our governor said that secularism is not defined, it may not be defined, but it is interpreted by the court. In fact, 9 judges sat together in a case called S.R. Bommai versus Union of India. They gave what this means. This is what the Supreme Court said in 1994. The state guarantees individual and corporate religious freedom and dealt with an individual as citizen, irrespective of his faith. You are a citizen in this country. And nor prefers one against the other. The state does not show favoritism. The concept of secular state is therefore essential for successful working of the democratic form of government. The secularism is a guarantee for a secular form of government. That's a democratic form of government. There can be no democracy if anti-secular forces are allowed to work, dividing followers of different religious faith, flying at each other's throat. The secular government should negate the attempt and bring order in the society. Religion, in the positive sense, is an active instrument to allow the citizens the full development of his person, not merely in the physical and material, but in a non-material and non-secular life. This is something what Supreme Court has said, which our governor, who has taken oath under the Constitution, he has not understood. If you want any doubt, you must go and read what the judges have said. And then the judges have said, not one judge, 9 judges have said, this is what it means. It means that the state shall not discriminate against any religion. It will treat all religion equally. Now, if somebody who is sitting as a judge, who is going to interpret the Constitution, says minorities have no place, or we must have a Hindu jurisprudence, Bharatiya jurisprudence, then where do we go? Therefore, the first question which I started beginning is important to defend this Constitution. This Constitution worked 72 years with 105 amendments. Even America never had so many amendments. In 250 years, they had only 24 amendments. It only shows we are vibrant, we are dynamics. We respond to the call of the people. Therefore, we make amendments. There is the Panchayat Raj amendment, there is the amendment to property rights, there are so many other amendments. The right to education has been come as an amendment. Therefore, we amend depending on the needs of the people. But nevertheless, the basic structure, namely it's a socialist secular republic, continues to be the same. And therefore, we should deal. But then the governors are sent by Home Ministry. They have an agenda to do. So the agenda is to show discard, show difference, create discard between the groups. He says, our India with Sanatana Dharma as its backbone can save the world from these destructive forces. Which are the destructive forces? I don't know. Speaking about the distorted secularism in discourse, Mr. Ravi, Governor, said the country has deviated from the true meaning of the term as enshrined in the Constitution. The Constitution says state won't align with any particular form. It was another blow to the country. When the state will not align to any form, that's a blow to this country. And we are saying, His Excellency the Governor. There's nothing excellent about it. He become a spokesperson for a ruling party, that's all. Therefore, when wrong views emerge from higher quarters, the right view should emerge from the correct quarters. Where else it can emerge? It must emerge from campus, it must emerge from universities, it emerge from the field, saying this is what we believe in, not beyond this. We will not allow this country to be a theocratic country. Sri Lanka has become a theocratic country. Bangladesh constitution, though it says not Islamic Republic, they say we will allow all religion. Pakistan openly declares it's a theocratic country, but we are not. We chose to become a secular country, and we are enjoying the fruits of this. We have brothers and sisters having different faith. That's why he says non-materialistic ideas. It doesn't affect anybody if I worship A or B, or don't worship anybody at all. In some centuries ago, if you don't believe in God, you will be punished also. That we do not have such laws. But this country, when we are governed by a written constitution, there are so many constitutional pundits who starts interpreting the constitution in their own way. And that is why when I started by saying this Mohan Bhagwat statement, which is also made in Marathi and therefore most of you must have read it, he has said, we also have a responsibility towards society. When I read the sentence, I was laughing. When everything is for the society, how did one become higher, one lower or different? God has always said that for me everyone is equal. There is no difference based on their caste or creed, but the classification that the pundits created was wrong. Now everybody left out all this statement. Somebody said, how do you make snide remarks on pundits? So he said, I did not mean pandit in that way. Pandit I meant scholars. This is what he said. Therefore so many ifs and buts are said. But the substance is that the caste has no place in this society. So when we start by saying, in the 21st century, one fundamentalist leader says, there is no caste. Will you allow one of your society's leader as a scheduled caste? This is a question. In fact, many people are asking one question. When this Jai film, they were saying that a lady who acted as a tribal woman, Sengeni, her name is Sengeni, she is a Malayalam actress, Lijamol Jose. She was given a Best Actress award. And then that award organizers told me, sir, you must give that award to her. Now I become more or less a cinema person. Everybody comes to me with some cinema ideas. And now they said, you come for the function. I went for the function. I gave the award. I was very happy that she acted so well. In fact, she stayed 60 days in the settlement of the Adivasis to learn their mannerism. Very few actors will do. They'll only repeat what we are saying. But she lived to find out how they are living. She also saw so many things of the family. But then, when I gave the award, the organizers very charitably said, 2 minutes you can speak, sir, because we have got other speakers. In 2 minutes, how will you explain? It occurred to me only one thing I said. If Lijamol Jose come to your house, you will open the door, you will be happy to receive her, you will put her in a sofa, you want hot drink or cold drink, you will ask everything and show all courtesies and send her up. Maybe take one selfie picture also. If the same Sengeni comes to your house, forget front door, will you open the real door and give her something? Now between the real and real, there is so much gap. Until that gap is filled up, there is no question of any social discourse at all. When we talk about social discrimination, this is where we start. You must have seen in that film, there are several scenes are there. They are basically snake charmers. So in the house of the rich man, there was a snake. Who will they call? They will call Urulas. Even American government, Pennsylvania state, has recruited some Urulas to catch snakes in their government offices. Government offices are in the midst of woods. Therefore, so many times snakes come in and the employees never come back. They apply leave and go away. So they didn't know how to do. They brought some Yerulas from Tamil Nadu and stationed them as a permanent workers to catch snakes. It is not their job to catch snakes. It is one of their way of living. And now the landlord sends his agent to go and fetch him. He goes in a old moped, and then this man comes, the Raja Kanu comes there. As he gets into the two-wheeler, there is a balance. When he starts to have a jerk, he puts his hand on the shoulder. Immediately that agent says, remove that hand. He goes to save the landlord from the snake danger. But the landlord agent, who is only a class 4, who is a OBC, he tells this man to take the hand. Only 1 second that scene comes. But it portrays 101 times of what is social discrimination in this country. When we talk about social discrimination, it also discrimination based on not only society, also economic disparity, also educational. That is why when the constitution was drafted, the first time in India, after several rules of the kingdom, several years, centuries of rule by the British, we drafted a constitution. Constitution had a 2.5 years debate, several amendments, and Ambedkar gives a reply. These are 5 volumes, 5,000 pages are available. If you read, every sentence, every word has been discussed, not just introduced just like that. It has been defended 101 times. And then when we write the first article, Article 14, that all are equal, there will be equal protection of laws. That was a declaration made after 19 centuries to tell the people all are equal. If you see the American Constitution, the first sentence says all men are equal, not all are equal. All men are equal. 250 years ago, they wrote all men are equal because women were not equal. The blacks were not equal. Today, that is not the position. The lines remain the same. The society has gone advanced. Women have got voting rights from 60 years before. The blacks have got voting rights for 75 years. Slavery was abolished. Now, if you see the meaning, all men are equal. It has got a different meaning. Everybody is equal. But when we wrote the Constitution, all are equal. And people will not understand. Therefore, 15 comes based on gender, language, religion, place, descent, all are no discrimination. Now, Article 15.1 is the heart of this Constitution. It's the greatest statement ever made in 20 centuries in this country. In one sentence, it killed Sanatana. In one sentence, it killed Manusmriti. All are equal. There is no hierarchy, whether it's based on religion or gender. Now, somebody took a film on Article 15. That director was asked, why do you say there are 397 articles? You say Article 15. So he gave an interview. He said, of all the articles, I did some research. Now, India is a country where everybody is treated differently, hierarchically, caste, so many things are there. Therefore, this is the first article I could think is the heart of the Indian Constitution. I will also say proudly that it snapped all the social status that was there before 20 centuries ago in one sentence. Therefore, the greatest thing that could have taken place is our Indian Constitution. The greatest assurance that would have come is in the form of Article 15. To give a true meaning, the declaration is there, whether they are really equal or not. In America also, when they said all men are equal, only all men are equal. The women got their franchise after a long time. The blacks got their slavery removed after a long time. Therefore, the meaning to the Constitution came from social action. Do we have a similar social action to give correct meaning? We may have so many films, Jai Bhim, everybody will say Jai Bhim. After a lecture in Anantapur, some 20 youth surrounded me. They want to take a picture, I said okay. Then all of them wearing full shirt. They removed their button, removed this and showed. Everybody written Jai Bhim. Now, he has given some kind of a fillip, kind of movement, but I am saying it should not be left with gestures or symbolism or index. It has gone beyond to say that we will work for this emancipation of the Adivasis or the Bolwasis or the scheduled caste. This is most important. Article 15 is a philosophical or the dharma of the Indian Constitution. I will tell our governor, the dharma is here, 15. This is the dharma, not your Sanatana, not your Manusmriti. Beyond that we have crossed the frontiers, and that is why I will always insist that if you think of the constitution, if you think of the social justice is embedded here. And Ambedkar knew very well that when you say declare everybody is equal there, everybody is not equal. Therefore he says down below that there will be a reservation for socially and educationally backward people. The word is a twin word, social backwardness and educational backward. He never said economic backward. Even there can be upper caste who is poor. He talked about educational backwardness, and social backwardness came because of the caste hierarchy. Every caste has been given the caste duty, the Sanatana Dharma. You can't come and read. The story of Ekaleva, I need not tell you. They cut his finger for Guru Dakshana because he learned stealthily. The education is not meant for others. If somebody who doesn't belong to the Brahmin caste and they read Veda, they will say, you must pour lead into the ears. This is a punishment they have, a series of punishment. And that is why we say, when we talk about an affirmative action or a positive action to bring, the other argument comes, no, merit is a criteria. You cannot reserve and make unmerited people to come there. Now we have 1/3 amendment. There is also reservation for them, EWS reservation for all castes. You are only talking about one caste, we will give that also. Now the catch is very important. Thus the constitution at the beginning talk about any economic backwardness. They did not talk about it. Their idea is to bring educational backwardness people to the higher society, or the social backwardness to the higher. And it is not one against the other, it is to be a twin test. Supreme Court says it is not social backwardness or it is not educational, it's SCBC. Now when we talk about affirmative action for SCBC, you now say, I will now give others also 10%. First of all, there is no data. Even in the UP OBC reservation case, Supreme Court said, we will not allow this because there is no data. I am asking the question, where is the data for EWS? How do you fix 10%? How do you fill income limit as 8 lakhs? Even for OBC reservation, it's not 8 lakhs. They say creamy layer. So the communities which are hitherto too superiorly cornering every post, every educational institution, today given additional bonus without any restriction. What is most important is, under Article 335, there is a provision. The reservation shall be made consistent with the efficiency of the work. Now you must find out whether they efficiently serve this post. For example, there is a post of an engine driver. You must be qualified and you must be tested. If you want to fly, you must have so many flying hours, 1,500 flying hours to run as a commercial pilot. So in the name of reservation, you can't reduce the 1,000 into 500. So they say consistent with the efficiency. Now if you look at the AWS, the word efficiency is absent. Does it mean for reserving for upper caste, no need for efficiency? Completely lay exposed. There is no argument. In fact, out of 5 judges who upheld, 2 judges asked the question, why this reservation is not extended to Dalits, OBCs? They are also economically backward only. Their fathers also not earning 8 lakh rupees. Now they have no answer at all. The Supreme Court, 2 judges say, violation of Article 14, equality clause violated. But then the government is not going to worry. Their intention is different. Pervert the constitution in such a way that you yourself will start saying they are not necessary. This is something that when we talk about social justice concept is sought to be perverted by a deliberate constitutional. It's not on the streets. When Mandal came, the fight was on the streets. Indian Express wrote an editorial, take to the streets. I wrote a letter. You are a newspaper and you are telling the people to agitate. Why can't you go to court? They were sure they will not win the case. Therefore, take to the streets. If I don't win the case, take to the streets. Now nobody will go to streets. Has anybody protested EWS? Some symbolic statements are there. Therefore, what is done to the upper caste, no protest will be there. If it is done to the lower caste, if it is done to the socially and educationally backward, there will be protests, there will be riots. People got killed. There were firing. In fact, I went to IIM Ahmedabad to speak during Mandal days. In South India, there was no problem. In North, there was a problem. So we went to different campuses. IIT, they put IIM Ahmedabad, they put a poster. Again, Mandal, they put my picture. As if again Mandal means what we do not know. Mandal is only coming one side. But then the venom, the prejudice is so much that we do not accept. In this country, till 20 centuries, they were not at all treated equally. Today, there is some affirmative action. We should support. What is today is most important is that the people who are responsible for such things, there are many students have argued, we are not responsible. Don't blame our forefathers, not we. We are not saying this system has created a backwardness that has to be cured. And affirmative action is a constitutional method of curing. Most of you would not have seen horse race. Supreme Court says horse race is a game of skill, not a gamble, whatever it is. If you go to the horse race, two horses are not weighing same. On top of it, there is a jockey. Suppose the horse is weighing 500 kilos. Jockey weighs 60 kilos. The weight is 560 kilos. Another horse will be 600 kilos and the jockey is 75 kilos, 675. 675 kilos and 550 kilos will not be made to run together. So in the horse which is lesser weight, they put sandbags. That is called handicap. Now why there is a handicap on a horse which is weaker and a horse which is stronger? Because the horse which is leaner can run fast. It may not be a game. In order to bring both horses in the same line, they put handicap. Sandbags will be put and the same weight will be there. If it is then run in the horse race, in the human race, why can't there can be handicap? This is a fundamental question. You have not taught them for years. You cut their fingers for learning beyond their caste Jarma. Now you say, you can now come, I will also run along with you. This is not a fair game. This game we should change. Now we have a right to education. I am not going to because time is there. I will only shortly say. The Right to Education Act was challenged. After it became an act in 2009, it was challenged. Supreme Court heard the case. And then what did they say? Even though it's an obligation of the state to provide 4 to 14 years compulsory universal free education, state need not provide. The word provide means even can be provided by a private agency. Therefore, we will reserve 25% in all these schools and colleges. And the government will pay for the money. Most obnoxious fraud, government will pay money to the private institution and they will give important education to them. So the guarantee of a compulsory free education is not a mere education, it should be a quality education. You can't have a hierarchy of schools. Poor will go to municipal school, little rich will go to aided school, those who are better off will go to some good payment school, then those who want to become prime ministers or any other minister, they will go to public school, Mayo College, Scindia College, Gwalior, they will all go. So public schools will produce prime ministers, municipal school will produce citizens for this country. Because without citizen, he can't be prime minister. This is something new. This is what the constitutional interpretation given by the Supreme Court. I had an occasion to write an article. I said, you compare this with America. In 1965, in America, all the schools were either black school or white school. Because there it's a neighborhood school. The local bodies will run the school and it's a free of education. Though America is not a free society, America is not a socialist society, but education is concerned, it's free up to school. And now local bodies give finance. Now if I reside in this area and then I go to the school, I find everybody is white. Because all the houses are occupied by white. In some other place, there are working class area, all the area will be occupied black. And they will go to their neighborhood school. So some civil liberty organization found this very incongruous. Blacks grow separately, white grow separately. So they filed a petition before the American Supreme Court saying we can't have two Americas. One black America and white America, not knowing each other. Until we were in school, we do not know any caste. When we are growing, we also become conscious of the caste. Caste is one phenomenon we have not learned. It is not in any law. Even in the Indian Constitution, caste is referred in 2 articles only. But then, how the caste is being imposed on us, and we scrupulously follow all caste norms. Nobody has found, no sociologist has found the answer for this. You may give several theories, how it evolved, how it became, but then how caste justification as works in this society. When they asked this question for the first time, American Supreme Court, the Earl Warren Court issued notice. That was the first public interest case in American Supreme Court. They issued notice, we will examine this position. Then what is the answer? Mix both schools. But then areas are different. One is in civil line, one is in cantonment. How will they go? Then American Supreme Court said, you run buses. So that case is called school bus law. He said, run buses. Then black mothers said, my boy goes there, the white boys will mug him. White mother said the same thing. My boy goes to that school, my son will get kicked up by the black children. So the parents were against this mixing, colored mixed school. Knowing the mood of the parents, the American president said, we can't implement this judgment. There was a shock because the government is to implement the judgment. They cannot say no. Then the American Chief Justice, American Supreme Court Chief Justice said, if the president do not want to implement, we will call the GIs, we will call the army. Then the law was implemented from 1965, Board versus Brown, Brown versus Board of Education. You can read in the website. It's a long judgment. How there can't be two Americas, that should only intend for one America. When we had independence, we also wrote the Constitution for one nation, not for two nations. And therefore you saw American society grow over the years. And we saw the result. Barack Obama got elected 2 times as a president. He was a Harvard scholar. He wouldn't have been Harvard but for the judgment given by the Supreme Court. There is a mixed school. Everybody had the same education. But today we have a school where the poor children will not see the rich children and the rich children will never see the poor children. We have 2 Indias. That is the duplicity that we are having. That is the social injustice that we are facing. We speak in 2 voices. We write good things but do the opposite. Therefore, I am only asking you, between the real and the real, bridge the gap, make it a single ideas. And that should be one India and not the argument that they say one nation, one leader, one language. That's not the argument. Then they will say one food also. No beef. It's not very dangerous. The oneness is in our mind. Oneness is a one identity as a human population, not based upon your false theory of a fascist idea. That we should demand. Ultimately, I will only conclude, if you want to have any social justice, if you want to have any discrimination removed, you will have to read the Constitution, implement the Constitution, defend the Constitution till the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that invigorating speech. Now we can take some 6 to 7 questions. So as Justice Chandru has requested us, please give written questions. So you could just pass on the chits and we can take. I can see some chits being passed.